My Talk 107.1.
Welcome back to the Weekly Dish presented by Certix. We are here with Marshall O'Brien. Hello, Marshall.
Hello, Marshall.
Hi, Stephanie. Hi, Stephanie.
And now your business is it's Taste for Success. And
Taste Success.
okay, you like taste it as in eat it?
Like as in, I'm going to help you taste success.
Okay, so help us taste success, specifically when it comes to sending kids back to school. Because you and I have had some really interesting conversations about parents and getting their kids to eat well.
Right. Well, I mentioned this to you before. Is I think it starts with parents taking responsibility for getting their kids involved in what healthy foods can be. There's this myth that healthy foods are bad tasting, they're boring, and that's completely untrue. But it's up to the parents to debunk that. And so they need to get the kids in the kitchen with them and show them and show how fun they can be to make and how easy it can be to make. Because I think once kids get invested in that way, they get their hands dirty, they connect dots with that, then they're going to be converted, and it's going to be a downhill battle versus an uphill.
I agree, and I actually think that it's not about like denying them the hot dog or denying them the French fries,
Right.
but it's engaging them in the other stuff. It's about, hey, let's cut up. Why don't you cut up the mushrooms for this salad, and then that's part of the fun, and then the salad becomes fun, and then that's just another choice. It's not about cutting out the bad stuff necessarily. I mean, that may happen over time, but it's engaging them the same way that we engage them with hamburgers and hot dogs. Like, hey, isn't this fun?
And inviting them into exploring new things like broccoli, like zucchini fingers,
as dips.
or
other things.
Well, and I think
that makes sense. If I may, I think if you get them to make those fries or learn how to, peeling the potatoes, cutting it up, putting it in the oven, they're going to have a whole new appreciation. And, well, when I say that, like how hard it can be to make French fries, I mean, they're going to get that maybe this is a special occasion thing rather than an everyday thing. And, in our society, a lot of those special occasion foods have become everyday foods. So it's almost retraining them in a way where they don't even know that.
Mm-hmm. When you think about being a parent, and a lot of parents are busy, and I think that's where the convenient foods come in.
Right.
I'm a full-time working mom, and so is Stephanie. What kind of simple foods can we introduce to our kids outside of obviously just cut up vegetables that maybe would be things we could pack for lunches or that would be healthy alternatives?
Well, one thing to think about is the denser or more colorful, the better. So if you're going to get into just like sandwiches and stuff, showing kids that, hey, this is great, this is bread that tastes good, show it to them, have them taste it, but have them feel it, and they're going to see the color differences. They're going to notice there's actually things in the bread, and when they're looking at salads or they're looking at maybe you're creating lasagnas that actually have nutrient-dense foods rather than just the heavy meats and cheeses, but the other nutrients. Because obviously meats and cheeses are important, but it's having that well-balanced thing. So my suggestion is just give them an introduction to all sorts of things. And if people understand real basic on meal planning, and they can make a lasagna one day with a bunch of roasted veggies, they can do that they can make a salad out of that. They can make sandwiches out of that. So showing how they can use one type of food in a variety of different ways, I think will indirectly open their eyes to what healthy foods can be.
Do you have any suggestions for parents? A lot of parents that I know, their kids will not eat the heavy breads. They won't eat grain breads.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Is there another suggestion? Like if you have one of those kids that will only eat white bread, what can you suggest that they do instead?
Well, I don't suggest using scare tactics as my mom did. And it wasn't,
if you don't eat this wheat bread, your hair will fall out.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Then back to Stephanie, when you made the comment of, taking away things and, shunning those things, I don't think that works. So
No.
I think Stephanie, your comment or your question of the bread, I think you just have to keep trying, and that's what I hear people say that a lot. Keep trying. Try it in different ways. Maybe you make a grilled cheese sandwich with some dense bread, and I will be shocked if they say, "Oh, I don't like this." I mean, and maybe you just got to keep trying things. And I can't speak from experience personally having my own kids because I don't. But I know when I cook for my niece and nephew, often they go, well, we don't like that. But then when I make it for them, now obviously I have experience in being a trained chef, but I try different angles, and I think it's just you have to be persistent. That's what I hear from a lot of parents: is you got to be persistent. You can't give in and give up. And obviously, you don't want your child to go to bed hungry. But I don't know. What do you guys think about that? What have you experienced?
Well, and part of it is they say that the human brain, if to change your mind on a flavor, the component, it takes an average of 10 times trial before your brain sort of changes to liking it. And so that may be 10 times, it could be more or less, whatever. But the point is that you do adapt and you do change and you do evolve. And I think things like if the kid is like going, I'm not going to have this wheat bread, then you go to like a blend. You go to the soft wheat, and then you kind of over time get darker and darker, or you go to pitas. You switch
I was thinking
up the
maybe
options.
lettuce wraps.
Yeah. Well, I think that you can, and sourdough is a better option than just, plain white, but, those kind of things. And I also think you're right. I don't think that you say, oh, well, he doesn't like it, so that's it. And those people drive me insane when I'm, they make 5 dinners for 5 different kids, and I think, no, everybody eats the same thing. Here's what I've made tonight. It's on the table. This is dinner. And if you don't like it, then you go to bed.
Say, I believe that too. And my friends and I have kind of gone round and round because I think some kids have texture issues and are born being kind of picky. But I think if you have picky eaters, then you become picky in what you serve them.
Yeah.
I think it's okay to send your kid to bed with no dinner. If they want to make a fuss about what you've cooked, too bad. Too sad. Go to bed.
And we have, for instance, Matt, my 16-year-old, he doesn't like goat cheese. So, we stopped putting it in the mashed potatoes, or for the rest of us who like it, we put it on the side and then we incorporate it. But that doesn't change the actual structure of what's being offered.
Right. And I think,
and then you're staying in control rather than the child being in control.
Exactly.
Yeah, and saying this is what we're having for dinner. I'm sorry that you don't like it. I appreciate the fact that you tried it. You're going to have to eat the rest of the stuff on your plate, and that's all we're having. Yeah. I don't get up and make a whole nother meal for the kid.
No. Mm-mm.
And another thing going along with, let's say you had Wonder Bread, and that's just what your child was used to, or your kids were used to, and as a family, that's what you had, and then you switched it, and then now there's going to be a big mutiny. Everybody freaks out. With time, the kicking and screaming will, I would imagine, eventually subside. Now, again, I can't speak from personal experience, and hopefully
you're going to have to borrow some picky eaters, and have like a little, test
picky
case.
Eater day.
Yeah.
I'd be curious to know what your what your listeners think and what their successes have been with that, because that's people talk about it all the time, and I am in the camp with what you're both saying is this is what it is, get over it, or go to bed hungry. But
I think there's a balance.
And there are extreme cases. I know someone she said that her kid eats nothing but hard-boiled eggs, and that's the only thing literally that the kid will eat. And I just think, well, that kid's got you wrapped around his finger. But nonetheless,
at least it's protein.
Yeah, I know. I was like, well, but that's a battle. You know what I mean? Like, you have to find a way.
I think a lot of I do want to just address the breakfast issue with you, Marshall, because I was with someone in my family who's got a 3-year-old kid, and it was breakfast time, and breakfast was cereal. And I ate a ton of cereal, and frankly, love nothing more than at midnight having a bowl of cereal. But I think there are a lot of cereals that are just loaded with sugar. And it's kind of counterintuitive that you load your kid up with sugar and then send them to school so that they can learn. If you were going to give your young kids off to a good start and you wanted to do something that wasn't cereal, that didn't have 10 tablespoons of sugar in it per serving, what might you recommend?
Well, first is, in theory, cereal was about grains. So going along that, because grains can sustain energy, I would just go to the basics and make oatmeal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Start off with oatmeal. That can be a texture thing for a kid. It can be a flavor thing. So you add, fresh fruit into that, and maybe add some nuts on top of that, and put a little milk in there. But, to your point, Stephanie, when you give a kid a bowl of cereal and the second ingredient on that box is sugar, they're going to be high as a kite, like you said, and then crash by 9:30 in the morning, and that's not what you want. So it needs to be food that is sustaining them. So oatmeals, and maybe it is eggs and toast. But giving them something that's actually nutrient dense. And I think again, I don't have kids, and I'm busy as it is without them. But So so I can understand that, hey, I don't have time to make oatmeal for them. You can make oatmeal, for example, the night before and then heat it up in the morning. I mean, there's things that you can do. Takes initial time, but once you get a system down, you can make healthy foods that taste good ahead of time, heat them up, get in a system. But again, it's preparation from the beginning.
Yeah, I'll post a recipe that we have that is from one of the gals that we've worked with that does crock pot cooking, and she's got a crock pot oatmeal recipe that's pretty great. Marshall, I want to thank you for being with us. People can find more information about what you do and the programs that you put on for kids and nutrition at tastesuccessllc.com. It's Marshall O'Brien. We've got some videos that are linked there so that people can check out what you do. You do small classes for people. I appreciate the passion with which you have about teaching kids about food, because I do think it's important.
Well, you're welcome, and thanks for letting me be on with you both.
Yeah, when
Thanks,
we
Marshall.
come back, we're going to talk about back-to-school bars. And again, a little bit in moderation.